I retired 4 years ago at the age of 52. Yes, I'm very lucky. And yes, I worked very hard. And there are some things that I wish I had done differently. Whether you are just thinking about retirement or planning for it soon, or maybe you've already retired, you can still learn from my mistakes. If you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. My name is Chris. I am a midlife Gen Xer. And in 2020, my husband and I completely upended our lives. Between my 2019 cancer diagnosis and then the pandemic in early 2020, everything was changing. The first thing I regret was not doing it sooner. I know, it's the obligatory, yeah, that's funny, but you don't really regret that. It was the exact right time for us. We had been planning on retiring early at 57, 58, something like that. But like I said, between my cancer diagnosis and the pandemic, everything was changing. And so we sat back down, figured out the numbers, and decided with some changes here and there, we could still pull it off. So we did it. The second thing I regret not doing is considering the psychological and emotional impact it was going to have. Now, this is a really odd thing for me because I am generally a very introspective person. I try to be very self-aware. I'm always trying to grow and learn about myself so that I can be a better human being. But I just didn't. I also navigate change pretty well. So I just figured I'd roll with it. And I did for the most part, but with a little more thoughtful planning and thinking, I could have made those changes a lot easier. If you Google the word retirement, most of the stuff that comes up has to do with financial planning. How do you plan for your retirement? Well, you make sure you have enough money. And that's super important. But there are so many other aspects that you should consider. There are a lot of other adjustments and changes you need to make, and they're real, just as real as the financial aspect. I really think we should talk about the non-financial aspects more than we do, because they are very real and because it would just make the whole process so much smoother. Did you know that every year, starting in 2024, 12,000 people in the United States alone hit the age of 65, which is the traditional retirement age. And according to a Gallup poll in 2022, somewhere between 27 and 30% of 65-year-olds retire. And between the ages of 65 and 70, another 70% retire. So that's a lot of people. It's like 4.1 million people over the next several years. So this is a very important topic for a lot of people. And the emotional and psychological impact that it has on you isn't just about how you spend your time. It's about your identity. It's about how you feel valuable in this world. It's about what you get out of life. So it's worth paying attention to. The third thing I wish I had done that I didn't do was to really think about all of the possibilities. Now, we had a plan, we had some thoughts about what we wanted to do, but it was pretty narrow. We decided we wanted to take off and go live on a beach in Mexico for a while. And in fact, that was a requirement financially for us because it was so much cheaper. But that was about it. That was where our planning and thinking ended. We knew we loved travel, but really the only thing we were focused on was getting to that beach and relaxing. I didn't think much at all about and then what, or how was I going to fill my days, or is that really going to be everything that I need to live a happy and fulfilled life? And you know what? It wasn't. I was happy. I needed the recovery time. It was fantastic, and I would do it again in a heartbeat, but I would think through it a lot more in terms of what the possibilities are, what else I could be doing with my life, what I wanted to learn and do and be interested in. In other words, dreaming big. There are all kinds of exercises that I had done as a professional and as a younger adult about dreaming and creating my career and creating who I was as a person in her 30s and 40s. I did a lot of that. And for some reason, I didn't do any of it in my 50s. And so now I'm really looking back and wishing I had done it then, but I'm doing it now. And I really encourage you to find ways to learn how to dream big. There are a number of ways to do this. One of them that I did back in my 40s is called Mondo Beyond by a lovely woman named Andrea Schur. I'll put a link in the description to her Mondo Beyond course. I can't recommend it enough. I've done it several times since I first did it back in my early 40s. And it's amazing how many of my big audacious dreams that I thought were never achievable back then, but wrote them down anyway, have come true. And it's just because I put some thought into it and set it out there in the universe. I know that's a little woo-woo for some folks, but I did. And I also did things along the way to make them happen. So that's just one example of how you can go about dreaming big. I'm not affiliated with Andrea in any way, not getting reimbursed for mentioning her course. It's just really, really worth the money. The fourth thing that I wish I had done differently was thinking about retirement in a non-traditional way. I grew up with just watching my grandparents retire. They just decided one day, is all I knew, that they were going to stop working. And they had a great retirement party with all their friends and everybody cheering them on. And they went on cruises and went to Hawaii and spent time by the pool and came to my soccer games and all of that. And that was it. Leaving your career behind in midlife can mean so many more things than just stopping working. It could mean starting a second career. It could mean going back to school to learn something new. It could mean lots of travel. It could mean living somewhere internationally. It can mean so many things for you. Really think about all the different ways that you can change your life and move into this next phase. It's not just about not working anymore. It's about creating the next phase of your life. And also remember that the moves you make don't have to be the way the rest of your life is going to look. It's just the next phase. Treat it as just what's next, not what's forever. For instance, I have a friend who had always dreamed about living in Washington, D.C. She spent most of her life living here in Washington State, but really wanted that experience of living in DC with all the things that are happening there. So when her kids went off to college, she and her husband sold their house. She got a new job out in Washington, DC, and they moved out there. They've been out there for about a year. They live in an apartment, and they're just experiencing everything that part of the country has to offer. It's not forever. They're going to move back here in the next couple of years. But for now, she gets to live her dream. And her husband is overjoyed at watching her live her dream. So think about, what is it that something that you're really just aching to do? And how do you fit that into the next part of your life? Again, doesn't have to be forever. And so, although financial planning and logistics are very important, I hope that you take as much time and thought and energy into the other aspects, the softer aspects of what the next phase of your life are going to bring for you. Preparing yourself and launching into the next phase of your life is so exciting, and it's also a little scary. So take some time to really consider it, really think about it, plan, dream big, and don't constrain yourself to the traditional views on retirement and old age and midlife and all of that. You only get out of it what you put into it. And you deserve to have the best years of your life now. So what are you going to do is one wild and precious life.